Hello, Internet, and welcome to the free-to-play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, magicman, and once again, just like a few weeks ago, I'm surrounded by ladies. That's a nice feeling. That's a nice feeling. We've got Damina on the line, back from a few weeks off. How are you, Damina?
Good. Happy to be back.
Somebody gave you a dub bomb on the website this week.
I got my first bomb. It was seriously the best day of my life today.
Wow. That's means I should try a little harder, I guess.
Exactly.
Also, she's finally here. I know some of you have been waiting for her. Her first appearance got bumped because of another event that is not her fault, so don't take it out on her. Miss Jessica Brohard, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great, and I'm really very excited to be on my first free-to-play weekly, or free-to-play cast, rather.
Hey, no plugging your own shows.
Sorry, misspoke.
No, so she is the host of Free-to-Play Weekly on MMOBomb.com. She's also got tons of other gaming credentials. The show would be a lot longer if we went through all of them. So why don't we just start, Jess, if you don't mind, with the question we ask all new hosts to the show. What game got you into gaming in general? And then what game brought you into the whole MMO universe there? Give the listeners a little Jess background.
All right. Well, I would say the game that got me into gaming would be the original Legend of Zelda for the NES, because when I was very, very young, my father had an NES that he played a lot, and I would watch him play it, and then as soon as I was old enough, I started to play that, and the original Super Mario Brothers, and then Legend of Zelda 2.
Nice.
And the game that got me into, which is very similar for many gamers in my generation, we started on the NES.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
The game that got me into MMOs would probably have been World of Warcraft, which I started playing at the very end of high school. It was pretty soon after WoW had launched initially. I was never a kind of hardcore raider, but I played it off and on for a number of years. So that was my first MMO experience.
Nice. So we got a lot of feedback last week in regards to the worst MMO people have played, and a lot of people they shed out some WoW hate during that segment. So are you a pre-BC girl, or are you just I like WoW, doesn't matter?
Well, I did start on Vanilla WoW, but I have enjoyed the expansions as well, even up to I think the last expansion I played would have been Cataclysm.
Right.
And I haven't tried any of Mists of Pandaria yet, but I did enjoy the lore behind Cataclysm, is what I have to say. And I read The Shattering as well, which was a really nice kind of complement to the in-game lore.
Right.
Because it kind of fleshed out the background of the game a little bit more. So, gameplay-wise, I would say I did enjoy Vanilla WoW, but I also liked the lore of all the expansions.
Are you going to be buying Mists of Pandaria since you haven't had any beta access yet?
I don't think that I am, because I think my WoW days might be over.
Oh no!
Yeah, nothing against the game, of course, and I'm certainly not a WoW hater. I don't think that, because I never let it completely suck me in to the point where, I didn't do anything else in my life. But I'd say there are just too many other video games that I want to play, and I unfortunately don't have time for them all, and so it's a little bit of a waste for me to pay the monthly fee and then not even get to play it very often.
All right. Well, let's move on to the news here. We're going to talk about some MMOs. No WoW. We do the free-to-play stuff over here. So let's slide over and start with Hunter Blade. Now, this is by B-Boom Games. It's finally moved into open beta. We did an alpha first look of it a long time ago, back in January on the website. You ladies have both checked this out, seen the trailers, played a little bit, etc., yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So let's start. Damina, what are you feeling? Are you liking Hunter Blade? Some of the systems? What are your general overall thoughts? We'll go from there.
I mean, it's not awful, but it didn't get me. It just didn't. I've seen it before. I think I've seen it as far back as the PlayStation. I don't know that this is, anything terribly new or terribly exciting. If I have another option, I probably would play something else.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Hunter Blade is instanced combat, so think C9, games like that have a central hub town, and then everything off of that town is instanced. You'll get a quest to hunt a certain particular monster, go and get into an instance with either you and a group and go and kill it. Even within the instances, there's loading screens between each segment of the instance, so it's very weird to... I never felt that I got immersed in it at all, because there was constant load screen, load screen, load screen, but... What about this just general concept? Like Damina said, Jess, we've seen it before. The Monster Hunter franchise is insanely popular and for some reason will not come to the West in MMO form. So we've got these knockoff versions. And is it fair to call Hunter Blade a knockoff clone?
Well, I don't know if knockoff clone would be the right word, because Hunter Blade is an MMO and Monster Hunter is not. And like you were saying, Monster Hunter is insanely popular. I remember playing one of the PlayStation 2 versions, and I just loved it. It was a really cool, really innovative game. So I think the Hunter Blade is not necessarily for me. I didn't find it all that thrilling, but I do think it has its place for... I think a lot of people played Monster Hunter and thought, oh, this is really cool. You know what else would be cool is an online version of this. So then Hunter Blade kind of fills in that void. So it's not going to be for everyone, but I do think it has its place in the realm of gaming.
Yeah, and Capcom's been kind of teasing a Monster Hunter MMO since as early as, 2009, 2010, but still hasn't come to the West.
So then Hunter Blade is kind of stepping in saying, hey, if you guys aren't ever going to make it, then we're going to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I can definitely see that, where they've got this, okay, well, there's definitely a market there. Let's get them something and make some money.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I played the game for a while back in January when we had alpha access. I played it again when the open beta just started up. I will tell you, and leveling obviously isn't a huge aspect of the game. It's more focused on the hunt and getting, different particular monsters and putting them in your bag of kills and all that jazz. But the leveling, people were looking at the website saying, man, you can't make a clan until level 40. Yeah, don't worry about that. I mean, within an hour, I was level 24. So it's very, very quick. I liked some of the monster designs. Damina, what are you thinking, though, graphics-wise, things like that? To me, it just seemed outdated. I liked some of the monster designs, but some of the design concepts were pretty lazy. My feet kept going through the ground on hills, so the level plane was obviously below the hills. The monsters just seemed kind of blocky in some respects. What about you?
I absolutely agree. Sometimes you swing your sword and you're hitting like 8 feet below the ground. It's not, we're a little bit dated here, I think. And although I do see that there's definitely a market, because people have been clamoring to get a game of this type here. And so if that's, if that's what you're looking for, this is something to tide you over till you get something better.
Yeah, I think everybody's sitting here waiting to see when this game comes out with the name Capcom on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be when this becomes a viable franchise. Hunter Blade isn't the only monster hunting MMO out there either. I mean, there's other games that have taken that type of concept. I mean, even, Jess, you were talking about Mists of Pandaria. While it's not the hunting aspect, they are doing the whole Pokemon catch them all, rare spawn type thing in Mists of Pandaria with the pet battles. So you see a lot of MMOs integrating this hunting and collecting and gathering, but I don't know. I wasn't impressed with Hunter Blade in alpha. I'm not any more impressed with it in beta. And I don't think that, even though this fills a niche of people that want this type of game, I don't think any of them are going to get any general widespread acceptance until one comes out with Capcom's name on it.
Probably not. I mean, if we're being honest here, probably not. I mean, I think for this to be successful, they got to pretty it up some. They've got to make it a little more polished, maybe is the word I'm looking for here.
Yeah. It definitely needs polish. Which is scary because when you watch the alpha first look and then go into open beta, there's no real polish work done. You can tell that most of it was just content changes and not polishing on what was already there.
No.
Jess, you take part in a ton of betas. Open, closed, alpha. I mean, you've talked a little bit about some betas that you were under NDA and all this jazz. So you do a lot of that stuff. Is it normal to expect at least some type of visual change between alpha and beta for most games?
Well, I think it really depends on the game, because if you look at something like Dota 2, which is still in beta, it seems to be in just indefinite beta.
Yeah,
and
it's going to do the whole Google beta thing and just stay
Yeah.
beta forever.
Yeah, and several of the graphics have undergone just several iterations. I would say they seem like they keep updating the character portraits.
Yeah.
So it's, but then on the other hand, the overall graphics of the game haven't changed a ton, because I think the graphics are already pretty beautiful. So I would say graphics aren't really a huge thing that tend to change between alpha and beta. It's more content and things like that. But then, again, it really does depend on the game, because some games, their beta is merely a polished product, and others, their beta really is for the purposes of gathering feedback from the players and making tons of changes. So it's really hard to say, and if enough people are really clamoring for, more polished graphics, then I think that that's definitely something to expect in the finished product. But for me, gameplay has always just taken a huge precedence over graphics.
Yeah, I can definitely hear where you're coming from there. You have Guild Wars 2, and although it's not free to play, it's fair that we mention it here because that's a game that when the closed beta weekend started, the game was ready for launch.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's taken part in those knew that, yes, there were going to be bugs here and there with particular quests or things like that, but overall, you got the sense playing beta, they're just doing this to tweak some things. This could have been launched.
Yeah, I participated in one of the very first closed beta weekends, and it was, the graphics seemed entirely polished. The only thing that made it a beta was the fact that many of the servers were just very buggy, lots of connection issues, and that there was only a very small amount of content that you could actually access for that weekend.
Right.
Other than that, it seemed like, well, honestly, at this point, I think they're just teasing us. They're just kind of giving us a sneak peek of, what we're going to get, which is just heightening the anticipation for when the game actually comes out.
Yeah, so everybody that keeps posting comments on every free-to-play cast and every first look I do about what's your thought on Guild Wars 2, we have said it many times. Magicman is super excited about Guild Wars 2 and will be off of work that entire week that it launches. So, and I think you two share the enthusiasm, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm trying to figure out when we're going to take turns here playing, because someone's got to be cooking dinner and, things like that. So
that's why the kids have grandparents.
So out a lot that week.
Lots of pizza.
Yeah, the Pizza Hut guys will just automatically online order for the next 7 days. Hunter Blade, I don't know. Okay, fine. I can see why they brought it out. They have a market for the type of game. I think people like me that were very big fans of the original Monster Hunter and want to see that in an MMO format are going to be disappointed because there's just no way to play this game and not compare it to Monster Hunter. It's unfortunate, but it's going to be compared that way. It's like when you get a high fantasy MMO, it's going to be compared to World of Warcraft. It's going to be compared to the big name titles. So I think Hunter Blade has a bit of an uphill climb, and I think they may have moved too fast and didn't do this as well as they should have. Or it could just be a money grab. Who knows? I mean, to be brutally honest, that could very well be the thing as well. So I'm going to give this one a thumbs down. And I don't give many things a thumbs down. But I like the concept. I don't think it's executed well. Damina?
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Like I said, if I have an option to play something else, I'm playing it. So.
Yeah. Jess?
Yeah, I would have to agree with basically everything you guys both said.
Wow. See, this is what happens when you don't get Brim on the phone. When Brim's on the line here, he makes outlandish claims and says ridiculous things, and then we all have to talk him into reality. It's nice having 3 sane people on the show.
Yeah, well, it's not that it was, it's not that it's terrible. It's not that it's the worst game ever made.
Yeah.
But, I don't honestly have a ton of complaints about it other than it was just, kind of meh.
Yeah.
It's like if I had the choice between playing it and not playing it, I'd probably choose not to.
Yep, I totally agree. It's just, guys, if you haven't checked it out and you're really itching for a Monster Hunter type MMO, it's probably worth giving it a shot. But don't be surprised when you come away just going, eh. As Jess said, I couldn't agree more. That sums it up nicely. Meh. Let's slide over Sony Online Entertainment. Okay, here we go. We talk a lot about Sony games just because there's a ton of them and the whole way that they handle free-to-play. So Bullet Run, developed by Acme Games. You may be familiar with this. If you know what Hedon is or Parabellum is, then you're familiar with what Bullet Run is. So Sony finally launched it. Concept, it's a first-person shooter game. All of the players, competitors in the game, are basically on television. They're on a television show. Think like Smash TV. You guys remember that old game? Mm-hmm. That was huge in the arcades. What the hell's an arcade? Anyway, you're on television competing for fame and glory, fighting in these different arenas against everybody. Pretty cool concept. Back when Smash TV did it, Ultima Online had a version of this type of concept too. Not Ultima Online. What the hell am I saying? Unreal. Ugh, I knew it was you. Unreal had a version of this. So, Jess, we'll start with you. Are you a first-person shooter girl?
Off and on. I'm not into the really mainstream ones, oddly enough, like Call of Duty and Halo.
Right.
But I am huge into Team Fortress 2. So
you like to collect hats?
Yes, as many hats as possible. And so I would say overall my opinion of Bullet Run so far is pretty favorable because one of the fun things about Team Fortress 2 is that it is such a kind of over-the-top, fun, cartoony, completely not serious game.
Right.
It's just not realistic at all, and it's not trying to be.
Yeah, and Bullet Run kind of jumps in with that, with some of the different tier abilities that you get as you hit tier 3 and 4.
Yeah, and just the way the whole concept of Bullet Run is, the amount of kills you get matters just as much as the style in which you do it, and the entire thing is a performance for the camera and for the viewers, and so it's kind of one step removed from reality, and that's a very interesting concept to me.
Damina, did you play with the taunts at all?
I did not, but I got taunted an awful lot.
Yeah, Jess, going along with what you're talking about there, one of the key features of this game, you're trying to build fame and fans and things like that, is when you get a kill, you have different taunts, and they can be purchased through the station coin, cash op currency, or credits that are acquired in-game, and you can buy different taunts like clapping over your enemy or air guitaring over them, or anything like that to try and show off and build fans. And I'll tell you one thing about the Bullet Run. Everybody knows that I'm not going to win a first-person shooter tournament anytime soon. It's just not going to happen. I don't play them enough, but I do enjoy them. I actually enjoyed playing Bullet Run. There are some issues with the game that I think still need to be fleshed out and worked out. Visually, the game looks like it came out in 2008 and 2009, and if you know about Hedon and Parabellum, then you know that the game pretty much did come out back then. We're just seeing it on a broader base now that Sony's picked it up. So the visuals are a little dated. The controls are pretty basic. I mean, there's nothing, nothing breathtaking and earth-shattering in that. But I had fun, except for the first 3 or 4 times somebody laid a taunt on me. It was funny. Yeah, it was, oh, that was amusing. Oh, they got me. Oh, they got their taunt. after about 45 minutes of it, the taunting made me want to throw my keyboard through my monitor. It was just such that Call of Duty 13-year-old kid in your headset swearing and yelling obscenities. It just drove me nuts, the taunting over my body. And I just barely managed to keep the kill-to-death ratio above 1. It's actually a pretty tough game to get into. At least that was my experience. Because if somebody has shelled out any money or has played it for any length of time, they've already got better gear than you. And it's a little tough to get into. Credits off the bat were a little slow to come. And they do come over time, and everything can be bought with credits, which is nice. But the cash shop definitely has some serious advantages. I don't know if I would call it pay to win, though. Because you can get it both ways. It's just going to take longer with the credits. The problem is you may not play the game that long because you got slaughtered so fast so early by people that had better equipment. Does that type of... is that pay to win to you, Jess, or is that just pay to have fun at that point?
In this case, well, now that's also very similar to Team Fortress 2 because in Team Fortress 2 you can not besides just hats, you can also purchase weapons, and
Right.
you can get the weapons as random drops. Now with Team Fortress 2, a lot of the weapons you can purchase are actually, it's really personal preference whether you like them better or not. For instance, my main class is the pyro, and I just think that the stock flamethrower is the best pyro weapon. You know, I don't use the back burner, I don't really use any of the other flamethrowers, just the stock one that you start with. So in that case, finding the new weapons is absolutely not pay to win.
Right.
In the case of Bullet Run, where you could argue that, you know, the weapons you could purchase or buy through with either real money or credits, if they're objectively better than the ones that you start off with, then I would have to consider that pay to win because, yeah, you can wait and save up your credits, but you know, paying real world money is a way to get them just instantaneously and you know, or faster. So I would kind of consider that pay to win.
Yeah. See, I'm of the persuasion, and everybody that knows this, that if you can get the item, whatever said item is, in this case a gun, through station coin or through in-game credits, then I don't consider it pay to win. But a viewer talked me into considering a category called pay to have fun. And I think Bullet Run fits squarely in that category. If you don't want to shell out a couple of bucks just to up the equipment right off the bat, you're going to have matches where you're getting slaughtered left and right just trying to farm up credits for this. Now, Damina, you actually took a look at not just the cash shop coin versus credits, the people that have the premium membership, the $14.99 per week thing, or the station ID with Sony. They actually had some huge advantages.
Well, first I have to say that I have said it before on here. I'm not a first-person shooter girl. But as far as this game is concerned, I have to say that I played it and I actually kind of loved it for a minute. I had a good time. I had a mindlessly good time, but I had a good time, you know? And, but going along with what you were saying about, the, cash shop and those options, I got slaughtered. I got slaughtered and slaughtered and slaughtered, and when I went to upgrade my weapon, after playing for an hour, I had enough of one type of currency, in-game currency, to get this weapon, and I had zero of the other kind. So, yeah, I wasn't kind of down with that so much. But I did have a good time playing.
And what about the premium membership thing? They get a ton of advantages for paying $14.99 a month.
There was, they get a bonus, like a discount in the cash shop. They get a player bonus when you group up in the game. It's absurd. It's absurd. The advantages that there are to...
Yeah, here we go. You've got... And just I don't know if you took a look at this. This is, if you play Bullet Run and you sign up for the $14.99 premium membership, you get 25% gain on credit accrual, so you're gaining in-game money faster. If you group with other people, all of those people get a 10% credit boost, so, okay, and you get a little icon next to your name so people know you're a premium member and will kind of want to group up with you for that 10% boost. You get that 10% boost too, so anytime you're in a group, you're actually gaining credits 35% faster. You also get a discount in the marketplace. So not only are you gaining money faster, but the prices are lower for you. And finally, you have no restrictions where some weapons may be restricted on the rank that your character is before you can use. Those restrictions do not apply to you if you're a premium member. So you make money faster, you pay less for your things, you don't have to pay as much for repairs. Oh, and by the way, that rank 20 thing that somebody else has to wait for, you don't.
Yeah, I think the cash shop stuff is the worst part about all of that. We're getting a discount in there, plus the ranking being gone means you can buy, the best one. It's ridiculous. It's just, it's irritating.
I'm with you two, though. I had fun. It's just kind of a mindless unplug your brain and run around and shoot. It's not going to be that realistic silent scope type sniper game. It's a run and gun first person shooter. There's some wacky abilities. You gain your fame and stuff. If you pay, you have clear advantages. There are advantages that free players can have, but it's going to take them a long time to get. If you're a premium member, you have absurd advantages over the free players.
Yeah.
But all in all, it was fun. But it's rough to get into. That's all I'm going to say. If you're going to start playing Bullet Run, you better be prepared for your first few team death matches or your first few Dominion matches. You better prepare for them to be a slaughterhouse. You're going to die a lot to get into the game. But all in all, I didn't think it was that bad. I think Warface is going to blow it away when it comes out. Nobody's even going to remember what the hell Bullet Run was. What's the final word on this one, Jess?
Overall, I would say thumbs up. It seems definitely worth, at least worth playing. It's nothing else. It's fun. If you don't want to pay any money for it, if you don't want to, pay that premium membership, which is pretty steep, then you can still just kind of jump in, have some fun, get taunted a few times, sure, but if you're starting off in any game, if you're new in any game, you're going to get killed a lot, so.
Yeah, this one's a bit much, though. I'm going to have to give it the medium thumb, the not quite up, not quite down. I think there's obviously a ton of things better than it. There's certainly a ton of things worse, even though Bullet Run is a little bit dated. There's certainly a lot worse. I do think it's a bit harder to get into than other first-person competitive shooting games, simply because the advantages for long-time players or for there's no segregating of ranks is what I think they need to add, so that there's a distinguished beginners zone for new players, and then once you reach a certain rank, you're in the general population. I think that would go a long way towards alleviating this. But it's kind of tough to get into. I'm going to give it the medium thumb. What about you, Damina?
I agree with what you just said. It would be great if they had a beginner zone, kind of get in, learn how to play, learn how this all works. But overall, for someone who doesn't play first-person shooters and doesn't like them, for me to actually have a good time playing one, I've got to give it a thumbs up. I mean, I'm not hardcore. I'm not serious, die-hard fan who's going to, die because I don't have the best gun. I hopped on there for an hour and had a good time. So, if I'm bored one day, is there a chance that I might get back on there? Yeah, sure, why not? So, that gets a thumbs up from me.
I'm going to hold out for Warface. Maybe I'm just being a negative Nancy. All right, next game. Oh, this is a big one, huh? This is a big topic. This news fell the day after we recorded the last free-to-play cast, so it was not covered in last week's episode. But most of you know by now that Star Wars, The Old Republic, BioWare EA, is going free-to-play later this year. Right now they're targeting November. Most people kind of saw this one coming, right, Jess?
I think so. Just
Maybe not
because,
when, but they saw it coming.
Yeah, and I think what caught most people what caught me off guard anyway was how soon it went free to play.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say most people did see this coming.
I mean, this was back in December when it launched. Here it is July into August when it's announced that it's going to be free to play, and the target is November. So that's less than 1 year. And I think we've talked about this on previous shows. We had AKA Mike B on one show where we specifically talked about Star Wars going free to play. Speaking of that, AKA Mike B will be on in a few weeks to revisit this topic. Since we made some predictions on that show, he's going to come back and guest host again and chat about it. Less than a year. The sticking point for me was that EA's name was on it. And Jess, you know Warhammer Online, that damn thing still isn't really free to play. I mean, EA has a tendency to just hang on and hang on and hang on. So it was surprising that this happened from my side. I'm with you. I did not think it was going to happen anywhere near this soon. We're talking about less than a year after launch for what was touted as the most expensively produced MMO at the time.
Yeah,
and still is.
Yeah, and it was not only that, it was just one of the most highly anticipated MMOs, if not games, and it was also the fastest growing MMO.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it crushed all kinds of records before the damn thing even came out, and less than a year, we're free to play. Here's what I want to talk about. I mean, I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours talking about Star Wars: The Old Republic. Chances are, if you wanted to play Star Wars, you've already at least given it a shot. You either bought it and played it like I did for a few months. You either played the free to 15 trial that they put in a little while ago. So I would go out on a limb and say that most people that wanted to give this game a shot, we don't need to talk about gameplay because they've already at least gotten a basic idea of what the game's about. I want to talk about the free-to-play model that they're using here because at first, I was like, oh man, they're going free to play. Wow, EA is actually going to let a game go free to play. And then when I looked at the model that they're using and compared it to Warhammer Online's model, which is you have all this access, you have to be on a particular free-to-play server, and then once you hit this tier 1 level, that's it. You cannot progress any further, but it's an unlimited trial. Once I started comparing that to Star Wars, I was like, wait a minute, to me, it's not really free to play. So let's run through this for you. Damina, we've got free up to level 50, which is the level cap right now. All content, all worlds. You are restricted on travel a little bit, so I would imagine what that means is there's less flight points for you versus somebody that's paying. You have a limited number of flashpoints or instances that you can run per week, a limited number of PvP matches you can participate in per week, operations, which if you don't know is Star Wars raids, 8 or 16 player raids, they're totally off limits for you. Is this free to play or is this a very, very extended trial?
So, I have made it quite clear how I feel about putting limits on what your players can do. Time-wise. You can only do so much today, you can only do so much this week. I've made it quite clear before that I just don't agree with that. I think that that's a horrible idea.
What, the whole tiered structure?
No, I'm saying, I don't like that, okay, maybe I can only do 4 missions.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I can only do 4 space missions this week, and that's it. Uh-oh. Okay, I gotta move on to my other tune now.
Right.
You know, I don't like that. And I've said it before, I think that's awful. I think it's a horrible way I think it's a great way, actually, to lose some of your fan base. To me, if you're playing these kind of games and you're playing them all the way to level 50 and you're going through all of the questing and the story and you're following your character's story and everything to get to the end only not to be able to do end game content, this is definitely an extended trial. That's what this is.
I would say overall, I kind of agree with their free-to-play model for several reasons. I think
Ooh,
that
okay.
if I'm going to be paying $15 a month for a game, I deserve to have more content and more access than the people who aren't paying for the game. And I think that it's fantastic that they decided to do free to play at all, just because I only played for about a month and then I got kind of bored. And it's one of those games that I absolutely would consider hopping on for a few hours if, I have, maybe a Saturday afternoon where I'm not really doing anything else. None of my friends are on like other games that I want to play. Yeah, I would hop on Star Wars: The Old Republic. But if I haven't activated my subscription that month, and I know that that day might be the only day that month I'm going to get to play, it's not worth it for me to pay $15 to play for 2 hours. So it'd be great to be able to play it all. And then just the other fact that you have BioWare and EA have to support all those players. It costs money to just host all those players on their servers. So, more players paying means that they can provide more content and.
Right, but by the same token, BioWare's gone through 2 rounds of layoffs already. So
Right.
is that kind of, and I can see where you're coming from, but then when you look at the other side and say, okay, well, somebody's got to pay so that they can develop content and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm totally with that. I mean, I don't expect everything in the world for free. I like free-to-play games because I think they give you a nice outlet to try something, and if you want to pay for it, great. So I understand the whole dollar aspect, and I totally agree with you. But then I look at EA's earnings call, which was held later the same day that they announced for the free-to-play conversion. At that point, BioWare had already gone through 2 rounds of layoffs. During the earnings call, they weren't specific on the number of subscribers. They just said, and I'm quoting here from their earnings call, last year we announced that the break-even point was roughly 500,000 subscribers. Although it launched well, subscriptions have been on a declining trajectory and have now slipped below 1 million, but we're still well above the 500,000 subscribers. That's not good enough. And they say that most of the people left the game because they were turned off by the monthly subscription. I tend to disagree with that. I think the endgame content is what made people leave. And this free-to-play model, if Star Wars was as flushed out as World of Warcraft as far as endgame content goes, then I would be with you 100%, Jess, and I would say, great, I'll pay my $15 and get all this extra endgame content, and Damina, you're going to be free to play, so you don't get that content. There's a clear line of why I pay my $15 and why you don't, and we're both fine with that. But the problem with Star Wars wasn't the subscription, in my opinion. Although the subscription model may be going away in the future here, the problem was the damn endgame. You got to endgame and there wasn't anything to do. The raids we stormed through with people that honestly, we didn't have the greatest groups in the world, and we were still able to tear them apart. And that's why a lot of people left. I just think it's just a really weird model. You know who this benefits the most, Damina? This benefits the people that wanted, I'm going to call it SWToR, SWToR to be KOTOR 3, Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
This is who the free-to-play, I think, benefits the most, because you get clear access from 0 to level 50, all-class story. Now, you are limited on some species you can play, but that doesn't impact the story. I think those guys and girls are the ones that benefit from this model the most.
100%. Absolutely. I mean, what I see happening here is that you're going to have those folks who want to do that, and now you've got perfect. This is great. I've got access to everything, and here it is. And then you're going to get the people that are like, why am I still paying a subscription for this when I'm level 20? I'm going to turn it off until I level to 50, and you know what? Then I'll turn it back on and check out Endgame.
Yeah.
So,
and to your point, I mean, hardcore PvPers, once they hit 50, aren't going to stick around with a limit on how many battlegrounds they can do per week, right? I mean, that just doesn't make sense for a hardcore PvPer.
Right.
Hardcore PvEers aren't going to stick around without paying because they can't access the raids. So from a dollar perspective, I agree with you. I mean, it gives that person that chance to get to 50, and then you really have to decide whether or not you're going to pay for it at that point. And if you're not going to pay, then that's it. You're not playing anymore.
No, you're done.
I mean, do you think those guys are going to get to endgame, Jess, and decide not to pay? Are they going to stick around?
I don't think so, because I completely agree with you when you said that I don't know why BioWare was claiming that it was the subscription turning people off when everyone I talked to said that it was the lack of lack of end game content. So they enjoyed it until then, and then they got bored after like a month or maybe 2 months of playing just because they quote unquote beat the game. So in my view, or how I personally would maybe go about playing it, is maybe you pay for 2 months and then you reach level cap, and then you kind of take a break and you go free to play and you kind of casually play until the next expansion comes out or until they add more content.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Here's what concerns me, though, on the whole endgame content. We've talked about the 2 rounds of layoffs. Mm-hmm. EA on their earnings call was not complimentary of Star Wars at all. In fact, I think this is a couple quotes here that I want to give you because they're really telling, and I want to get your opinion on them. Frank Gibeau, if you don't know who that is, that's the president of EA Labels, is the one who talked through Star Wars and its free-to-play conversion. And during his segment of the call, he talked an awful lot about Star Wars: The Old Republic's losses being countered by how well the Battlefield 3 premium service was doing. And trying to throw that up there as, yes, we're not doing as well as we thought here, but we're doing even better here. Here's a telling quote, and this was to sum up the whole Star Wars and Battlefield 3 premium counterbalancing each other. "We couldn't be more pleased with how the diversity of our business allows us to make up for a miss on one franchise with a big hit on another."
Wow.
So that's the president of EA Labels calling Star Wars: The Old Republic a miss. Mm-hmm. They've already gone through 2 rounds of layoffs. The president of Labels is labeling the game a miss. What are the odds this is going to get the endgame content it needs to retain an audience?
That's actually a good point that I hadn't even considered.
I mean, that was just crazy when I read that. I was like, I'm sitting on the call listening to it, and I was like, he didn't really just say that. And then the transcript came out, and I was like, well, wow, he did say that. And he later on went to say some pretty cool things about free-to-play. I mean, EA is making money hand over fist on free-to-play. They're averaging over $6 million per week in free-to-play revenue for the fiscal 2013 year. And he did say a clear trend line is emerging. When I look at the quality of these games and the revenue they produce, I'm convinced that free-to-play will soon emerge as the leading business model for PC and mobile gaming. So it's about time somebody from EA acknowledged what just about every other company in the world, even Sony Online, has said before. So I was very hopeful from that perspective. But from a Star Wars fan, and I'll tell you, I'm a Star Wars fanboy. Ridiculous, know the movies, got the toys, action figures. They're not toys, they're action figures.
Because they have to stay in the package.
Right? They decrease in value if you open them.
Take up space in my basement.
So I was hopeful. I'm a Star Wars fanboy. I played it for a long time when it first came out. But they're literally calling this a miss. They've done all kinds of layoffs, and this free-to-play model I don't think really has any gain for them. Yeah, you're giving somebody access to the story, but now once they've completed that story, you better have shit in line that's going to entice people to pay the $15 and stay, or they're just going to roll another class and go through that storyline, and once they've done as many as they feel like doing, they're not going to play anymore.
I'd be curious, honestly, to hear, because I'm thinking that they have to expect at this point that they'll make some of that up in still paying $15 for the box for the game, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It goes free to play in November, but starting August 6th, August 7th, you can buy the software in stores and on the website for $14.99. and then they still give you the first 30-day free that you got with as a normal, box purchase. So it's pretty much a wash. You're spending $15 for the software, but you're also getting that first month of premium access for free. So you will be a subscriber for that first month.
So I think they're hanging their hat on a lot there, because they have to assume that, A, you're going to go spend, even though it's only $15, you're going to go spend $15 on this game. And with all the other options that are out there, and the bad press, I guess it is,
right,
that this game has gotten, I don't know that there's going to be enough people still going to pay that $15, even if they do get 1 month of the content, to make up for these layoffs and to put development into Endgame, which means, I don't know, this could be the beginning of the end here.
I don't think that's an unfair statement. There's a good way to go with this and a bad way, and everything prior to their free-to-play announcement has pointed towards the bad way. Talk me off the ledge here, Jess. What are the goods? What should we be hoping for to happen?
Well, like you already said, we should be hoping that EA will decide to give this, maybe a second shot and say, okay, well, we kind of... What I am hoping will happen is that they'll be able to learn from their mistakes, which I know they haven't really had a history of doing, because the problem there is that they often have trouble admitting their downfalls. But
true,
I'm thinking that if they're smart, what they'll do is look at the point from launch until now as sort of a trial run. They'll assess what went wrong, and they'll see that what went wrong was a resounding lack of endgame content, and they'll decide, hey, what would make our subscribers happy is if we did put in more content. So right. I, of course, don't know how their entire business model works. I don't know if they would even consider looking into, bringing in some more employees, or at least contractors, to provide that content, or if they're just going to kind of give up on this entire thing. But I feel like it'd be kind of more of a loss if they did just give it up at this point, because it seems like they have invested so heavily into this.
Yeah, but it's hard to take away a positive view when they're calling the damn thing a miss themselves.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on the EA marketing hat for a minute, audition for my role as a EA president of some type. I think free-to-play should not have been put out there yet. I think a better way to go at this point... You've already got bad publicity after bad publicity after bad publicity since launch day, pretty much. The news every time you see Star Wars The Old Republic has never really generally been a good announcement of any type until now, when free-to-play happens. I think they should have kept free-to-play in their pocket for now, because, like it or not, you put it out there that, hey, it's going free-to-play, everybody in the world that said this game's a failure is now going, I'm right. So it's still kind of got that negative publicity to it. I think what they should have done is held free-to-play in their pocket for a little bit, just come out and said, you know what, guys? We're going to make the software free, because right now the barrier to entry of our game is a $50 box and a monthly subscription fee. So what we're going to do, we're not going to charge for the box anymore. It's going to be free. Once the stores are out of it, you can't get it in a store. You can just download it for free right from our website, and you have the 30 days that came in the original box for free. Now, you have zero barrier of entry for this game. There is no reason that anybody that is even remotely interested in this game can't go out and try it, unless their computer just can't run it. They don't have to put any money there. They're not limited by what they can do. They've got 30 days to check it out. And if they want to stay, give us your $14.99 a month, please.
I don't think you even need to give 30 days there. I really think, 7-day free trial could work. Because you got to consider that a lot of people are...
Well, they already have that type of thing with the first 15 levels free, though.
Yeah, but I'm saying add the free software onto that. Do you know what I mean?
Right, a full copy of the game.
Yeah, put a full copy of the game onto that, because I'll tell you what, I've seen you play games. If they gave you 30 days free, you'd be done. So
especially the way SWToR endgame content is.
Well, not done like as in finished, we'll never play again, but you will have leveled to 50, and you probably will have leveled to 50,
Right.
You'll have capped within those first 2 weeks. So if I give you 7 days, maybe you made it halfway. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think if you give too long of a time, then I don't know that that's really helping in any way.
Yeah, I just think they should have made the barrier of entry 0, and then took their chance on having a good enough game to get you to stick, rather than saying, we're going to make it free to play, you're still going to have to pay for the box right now, eventually it'll probably be free, I would assume, but you're still going to have to pay for the box at this discounted rate, we'll give you the month free, so there's still that small barrier of entry, and then you're limiting the content, and it's almost like pointing a gun at somebody. If you want some more content, give me the $15. I don't know. I think there would have been a better way to do this. Give the software away for free. Anybody who wants to, go ahead. And you have X number of days of unlimited content as if you were a subscriber. And then you always have free-to-play to fall back on, but it probably should have waited till after the first year. So, free-to-play Star Wars, thumbs up, thumbs down, Damina.
Thumbs down.
Jess?
100%.
I still have to go with thumbs up, mostly just because of the fact that they admitted, oh, we don't really have enough content to keep people interested to, have them make them pay $15 a month. Like that's one of the first humble things I've seen them do, and the first time they've ever admitted when they've done something that wasn't perfect. So I still have to say thumbs up.
I'm going to go with thumbs down because I think they had a better option, or at least a few different options out there. And I think the model they're using smacks too much of what they did with Warhammer Online. Let's slide over to the weekly bombs here. We're running out of time. Whew. A lot of Star Wars talk there. Jess, first timer on the show, weekly bomb, da bomb, A bomb. What do you got?
I have a da bomb to give out to Planetside 2. Because they recently released a new trailer, and along with that, they also began giving out tons of beta codes. There's still, I just was on Twitter a couple hours ago and saw them randomly messaging people and giving out codes. It seemed like for a couple hour window there, anyone who was tweeting at them and using the, PlanetSide2 hashtag would get a beta code. And so I'm just very excited about that, and I think that's awesome, and everyone's so excited about that game. So
nice.
Just everything about PlanetSide 2 gets my da bomb this week.
Very cool. We talked about that last week, so good timing there. We talked about the whole new trailer, and I can't wait. What about you, Damina? Da bomb, A bomb?
So last time I was on, I had never given a da bomb, and this week I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to give 2 of them. So my first da bomb is going to go out to a listener, Inflictious, for pointing me in the direction of Slender. And my second da bomb this week is for the game Slender, because it terrified me in the most awesome way. I had a blast playing it. I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time I put these headsets on since I played it. I still think I'm hearing dun 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 dun. So there you go. That's my bomb for the week.
That is a great game. If you guys are looking for just something to kill a little bit of time, and you're into scarier things, Amnesia, games like that, Slender is a free-to-play single-player. Pretty small download, too. I think it was like 50 megs zipped file. And definitely worth playing. Now, when Damina played it, Jess, I didn't give her any clues as to what the game was about or what you were doing. I let her see the controls on the main menu, and then that was it. And I just hit record and just let her play it for a few hours. And I actually have a da bomb this week, too, that has something to do with Slender. I went ahead and took Damina's gameplay footage, and I diced it up into a highlight reel. It's about 13, 14 minutes long. We're going to play it here, so if you don't want to see the game Slender, or you just have no interest in watching this, then you can go ahead and skip ahead this episode 13 minutes and catch us on the other side of this, because I'm going to play this for the viewers. I had a blast watching her footage and her reaction to this game. So you guys enjoy the footage. If you want to skip it 13 minutes, a little over 13 minutes, jump ahead. We'll see you on the other side. My da bomb also for Slender.
I feel like that wasn't in there before. Sneaky, sneaky game. Hey, was that chair outside before? I need to get out of here. Oh, my lord. Oh, my goodness gracious. Why is it all dark in here now? I can't see where I'm going.
Flashlight off?
Oh, shoot, I did. I got so scared I turned my flashlight off. I think I'm lost. Stuck in the bathhouse. My hands are actually shaking.
All right, so that's Damina playing the Slender.
I cannot believe you did that to me.
Oh, come on, you knew I was taping it. You just didn't know what I was going to do with it.
If I see that thing again, I think I'm going to poop myself.
Great game. Great game. Let's go to the member bombs. Rufinus Henry says, I would like to give the bomb to Alad's Online and its new patch. I especially like the mercenaries added to the game. No more waiting for a tank or healer to go astral. They actually had a huge patch, and we haven't covered it yet. I want to cover it. There's just been other things going on right now. They put in a whole new server for new players. There's experience increases on that server. There's Alad's stuff that changed. They have a really big patch. Are you an Alad's fan, Jess?
No, I'm not. I actually haven't tried that one.
Oh, you're missing it. You're a WoW girl. You need to play Alad's. You need to try it.
I will try it.
Shadowfang 3001, A-Bomb to Star Wars. Their free-to-play model, in my opinion, is just plain bad. They restrict what I find to be some of the game's strong points, the operations. Okay. I can't agree with you there. I mean, I like the operations that were there, but there's definitely work that needs to be done. Dub-Bomb for Phantasy Star Online 2. Glad it's coming to North America. Been playing since the Asian version since release. Huge PSO2 fan here. Shady just did a Foreign Friday on that. Or not Shady. Spunkify did a Foreign Friday on Phantasy Star Online 2. So, yeah, definitely check it out. 2013 release here. What's that next one, Damina?
So, Mr. Dragart says, Dub-Bomb for racing MMOs. Having started with ATV Off-Road Fury 3 when I was young, it's nice to see I can still knock people's cars just to get in first place. A-Bomb to fantasy RPG MMOs. They make up 90% of MMOs and have the originality of Larry the Cable Guy show, which is not much. My question is to Dr. Doodlebird, Man of Sesame Street, Magic Man. Do you wish there would finally be an MMO set in a zombie apocalypse?
So I guess that's the question from last week. We always have every week or every month or so ask the hosts anything. So do I finally MMO zombie apocalypse? Yes, and I think it's probably coming pretty soon. I think the popularity of DayZ mixed in with the popularity of a couple of the horror games that are out there. Yes, I think there's definitely room for an MMO and a zombie apocalypse type game, and it's probably coming pretty soon. Any opinions on that one, ladies?
I'm not Magic Man here, but I loved me some Resident Evil. So you want to give me something like that? I would totally play the crap out of it.
Jess?
I'm also a huge fan of any sort of zombie or apocalypse game. So I think it's amazing how many zombie / apocalypse games there are, and yet how good they all seem to be. So there's Resident Evil, Left 4 Dead, Dead Island. What's that one coming up? The Last of Us, and they all either have been or look like they will be fantastic.
Saki says, I'd like to give a dub-bomb to Smite for their recent update. Introduced a lion god to the game's arsenal. It's friggin' badass to see a lion tearing people apart, even if it's not his own claws, but his spears and summon obelisks. Another dub-bomb to Spunkify for his excellent Foreign Fridays. See, I just talked about that video. And his successful operation for bringing more people to the servers. He instant recruited me, at least. So here I come, rich rice fields and cute schoolgirls. Wow. Time for some sci-fi madness on the land of the setting sun. Okay. I am also a fan of Japan. The Zyphro. I have an A-bomb for Ignited Games for buying Wonder King, a side-scrolling 2D MMO, not even a year after they shut down the game, most likely to get their other, yes, they have two, 2D MMO, Windslayer 2, but 4 months later, they shut down too. Well, that sounds like a well-run business. Question of the week last week for the hosts was anything you wanted to know, so I'll throw these around to you ladies. You let me know your opinions here. To all hosts, from Mr. Uber Random, what game would you play if it was your last MMORPG and it has to be free to play? So, Jess, we're going to give you time to play one more MMORPG and then you can never touch them again and it has to be free to play. What's it going to be?
Oh gosh. Now, is this in an ideal world? I would say, make WoW free to play, and then I would choose that one.
No, you got to standard free to play as it is right now.
Standard free to play. Okay. Then
nice try trying to cheat though.
Well, in that case, I might say Runes of Magic, because I don't know if either of you have ever checked that one out, but I know what it keeps being compared to World of Warcraft, and that's because it's so much like World of Warcraft. And I know to some extent a lot of MMOs are going to be very similar, but Runes of Magic especially just captured that same high fantasy feel for me, and the exact same everything that I really loved about WoW when I first started playing it completely seemed to transfer over to Runes of Magic. Except Runes of Magic is free, so that's a nice, so earlier when I mentioned that I probably won't really pick up World of Warcraft again, just because I don't really have the time to dedicate to something that I'm actively paying for. Runes of Magic kind of fills that void for when I'm kind of getting the WoW cravings. I can hop onto Runes of Magic for a few hours.
When you're going through WoW withdrawal.
Yep.
Mine's real easy, since we're limiting it to MMORPGs. Definitely Aeon. What about you, Damina?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I really don't know.
The contest is that tough out there, you cannot decide.
I can't.
All right, we'll go on to Rhinor, who says, okay, I'm going to start with the question of the week because I asked this a while ago, but it was never answered. But here it is. Sorry, I can't answer everybody's question on every show. It gets a little tough. We all know that World of Warcraft was amazingly successful. Now, I want to know what free-to-play MMORPGs can do to make their games as good and as successful as WoW, even knowing the most hated game at the moment is WoW, but yeah, I'll ignore it. What could MMOs do to make their game successful like them? Was it the PvE? Was it the raiding? Was it the PvP and the arena battles? Anything you think that makes sense, anything you think that made that MMO so successful and apparently so hated. Please tell me what you think. So hated, Rhinor's referencing last week. There were a lot of people when we asked what's the worst MMO out there. There were a lot of people that answered World of Warcraft. That's why he's saying that. So what do you think it was, Jess? Can a free-to-play game or even another game, another MMO, be as successful as World of Warcraft? And if so, what do they got to include?
I don't know about as successful. I don't know that any MMO will really ever be able to be as successful, just because it was so groundbreaking for its time. But I think that one of the reasons that WoW was so successful is just because there were so many different ways to play it. And, so like Reinhard was saying, he was saying, what was it that made it so successful? Was it the PvE? Was it raiding? Was it PvP? Was it arena? And I would say it's the fact that you could do any and or all of those things. You could play on a PvE server and you could role play with it. You could really get into the fantasy and the lore and just play to have fun and to quest. Or you could, power level and then go raiding. You could try to, you could join a guild and try to make that the top guild on that server. You could, arena, like there were just so many different things you could do with it, that there were so many different ways to play. It was so diverse that it's almost a game that any type of gamer could enjoy at one point, because it's all about what you get out of it.
What about you, Damina? Good point,
I agree
Jess.
with that 100%. It didn't matter who you were, there was something there for you. It didn't matter what kind of gamer you were before, you could be a new kind of gamer now, or, there was something for everybody to be had there, and there still is. I just think, it was groundbreaking for the time, and being able to just come in there, even with no experience with MMOs at all, and be able to just pick it up, and you could get involved in the lore and in the story and in the questing, and then you could get involved in the raiding, and you could get involved in the PvP. It was just so many options, I think, and they were well done.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both of you. I don't think any game is ever going to reach the heights that WoW did when WoW was at its heights. I mean, they're obviously struggling right now. They, not struggling, but they're on the downswing. They lost another 1.1 million subscribers that they announced this week. And which makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of things going into that. That's a totally different topic. Diablo 3 probably siphoned some away. You're coming down to the end of an expansion and the beginning of a new expansion, so the attendance is low anyway. Guild Wars 2 is certainly probably playing into that a good bit. So there's a ton of factors, but long story short, they lost 1.1 million subscribers. So just comparing WoW to, its absolute pinnacle of attendance and how many subscribers they had, I don't think we're ever going to see a game, free to play or not, that's going to reach that level. I think the things working in World of Warcraft's favor were, at the time, your choices were limited. I mean, think back to when Vanilla launched, guys. You had, what else was out there? EverQuest, Ultima Online. Depending on what time period you're actually talking about, you might throw Dark Age of Camelot in the mix, but that was it. There wasn't 70 bajillion free games out there and 15 other subscription MMOs competing for the arena. And WoW, I agree with both of you, took all the great things about EverQuest, all the great things about UO, and made the interface prettier, polished the controls of the game. Questing was a real big part of what made WoW originally successful. I don't think you could do that. I don't even think Blizzard could do that again right now. You also had Warcraft, which was an insanely popular IP before it was World of Warcraft. So you had like the perfect storm and timing to create that, and they did it well. I think the closest that you could have come to it was Star Wars. Could Blizzard do the same thing again now? No. Just like Star Wars, fantastic IP behind it. Very polished gameplay, very similar to WoW's mechanics, almost virtually identical to WoW's mechanics. It drops, and less than a year later, it's free to play. I just don't think it can be replicated. I think there's too much competition out there now, and not enough innovation to make something wide. I don't even think Guild Wars 2 will reach the popularity that WoW had at its pinnacle. And that's saying a lot, because I'm really behind Guild Wars 2, and I know it's going to do insanely well, but even without a subscription fee, I don't think it's going to reach that, that 12 million type number that we were used to seeing for World of Warcraft. I don't even think Blizzard could do it again. So we're all in agreement there. Holy hell. Finale J. My weekly bomb is to bomb to Perfect World Entertainment for actually changing their ways with their recent games, Blacklight Retribution, etc., and not having overpowered cash shops. I played PWI, where the endgame gear was wholly composed of gear you got randomly from packs that were random and cash shop only, which inflated the economy to unreachable heights. My question is related to my bomb. Which free-to-play company do you think has either improved or degraded the most in the recent months? Well, mine's easy. I'll throw mine out there real quick if you guys don't mind. Mine's NCSoft, relatively new to the free-to-play market with their truly free-to-play model for Lineage 2 and Aeon. I would definitely consider that most improved and probably the best free-to-play model that's out there. Again, when I say Aeon, I'm talking North America. Europe's under a different distributor. So, but yeah, NCSoft. What about you, ladies?
No,
all right, great opinions.
I think we were waiting for each other.
Jess, do you have a company that you think's improved or degraded?
None that come to mind immediately. That's.
What about you, Damina?
I'm not so hot on the companies themselves, but I can tell you what I think has gone the wrong way. And I mean, I've seen it in Alad's, and it's I really have a problem with
With speaking.
yes, apparently, and also I have a problem with calling yourself a free-to-play game and not considering yourself a pay-to-win when, yes, I can still farm up all my, in-game currency and my mats, but it takes such an extraordinarily long time that it's almost unreasonable.
Ah, so you disagree with me a little bit on Alad's then, huh?
I do.
Well, hey. Then I'm going to stick with NCSoft, and that's my final answer.
I agree with you on the NCSoft, though.
Fortnite, lovely show as always, guys. So my question for you next week would be, if you were to meet yourself from an alternate universe, what would be the first thing you would say to your alternate self? Mine would probably be, holy shit. I don't really mind who answers the question. So Jess walks into Jessica Brohard from an alternate universe who probably has a different job and everything. And what's the first thing you say to her, Jess?
Well, depending on the circumstances of this alternate universe, it's either going to be, damn, you really let yourself go, or, damn, you look good.
What about you, Damina?
So mine would probably be, you married him?
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't say anything. I would sit down and cry. Wow.
Teasing.
No, that's all right. If I bumped into a different Magic Man, I would have to say, yeah, I'm better looking. So, no, I have no idea what the hell I would say to an alternate Magic Man.
You would say, hey, do you want to go get a pizza later?
Yeah, it's like, so what have you been playing lately? I mean, it's just, whatever. Jacob Allen, I actually have two questions for the free-to-play cast. Number one is, when will MMO Bomb update their top 10 lists for free-to-play games? Coming soon. We were originally going to do those in video format at the beginning of this year, and for one reason or another, things got delayed. And right now, it's not the best time to be upgrading those lists with so many things coming out. So you're going to see it in the coming months that those top 10 lists are going to change, and probably switch to a video format instead of text. I think the last update was back in April. A bunch of new MMOs have been released. Yep, that's my point. We'll be waiting a little bit. We've still got Raiders coming out, which, could very well make a top 10 list, and we've got a couple titles we need to wait for. So later this year. Number two, when would you, Number two would have to be when another pay-to-win episode will come out. Love those videos because they examine the game in depth and created awesome discussions in the comments. Great episode, by the way. Thank you for the compliment, Jacob. Pay-to-win's currently shelved right now. That's not to say that it may not come back. Yeah, it definitely created some in-depth discussions. But it also created problems because some people don't realize that when you're asked to give a personal opinion and you give your personal opinion, you are only representing your person by that opinion and nobody else. So there was some confusion, and so it's been shelved for now. May come back, though. Good questions. What else we got here? Here it is. First, pretty common question for Magic Man, but I have to ask anyway, what kind of microphone setup do you use? P.S. Your voice is awesome. That's from TCA 467685. Well, I appreciate the epicosity of my voice. I am using, for the free-to-play cast, an Audio-Technica AT2020. I use that for most things. If I'm going to use a headset mic, it's a Turtle Beach one that I have. Stay tuned for MMO Bomb How To. That's a show upcoming about how to make online content. Microphones is obviously going to be discussed in one of those episodes. The first episode is all about recording and editing software. Jess, how did you get into the business and gaming in general? A lot of people have interesting stories, and hearing them would be awesome. So you've had quite a path through gaming. You were with the Ubisoft Fragdolls for a while, and you've had a pretty storied gaming history. How'd you get into the biz?
Well, I would say interning for Ubisoft was my first experience working in the gaming industry, and before that, I had always known that I wanted to be in the industry in some capacity, but I had no idea how to break in. So then, when I interned for the Frag Dolls, it was just an amazing 6 months. I got to meet so many great people, and then the 6 months ended, and I was just kind of like, okay, now what do I do now? And so not too long after that, I decided, well, I think something, some sort of on-camera hosting might be awesome. So I started up my YouTube channel, and I just kind of started doing my own daily gaming videos to see kind of where that would lead. It was getting me some, experience, getting me comfortable in front of the camera, things like that. And then I believe, and then, you guys at MMO Bomb noticed that and were like, hey, would you want to start hosting our one weekly show? And I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. That'd be awesome. So I started doing that. And then I also, used some of that footage to apply for another hosting gig for Egotastic. So, yeah, that's the condensed version of my story, I'd say.
I don't consider myself part of the gaming industry. Because it's not my job. I have a day job, and I'm a software engineer and all that dorky stuff. I do this for fun, so I don't really consider myself part of the industry, but I guess being editor-in-chief on an MMO site, that kind of puts you in the industry a little bit. But the way I got in was a lot less glamorous than Jess. I was, still am, a huge fan of GameBreaker.tv. And I watched their videos, and one night on YouTube stumbled across an MMO Bomb First Look, and I was already familiar with, Spunkify and Omer's work at MMO Hut. And when I saw an MMO Bomb First Look, I finally said, you know what, I could do that. I could definitely do that. Come on. How hard is that? And then MMO Bomb was looking for directors, so I sent in a submission. I was given my first assignment, which is a Perfect World First Look, when the Genesis patch came out. And, so been here ever since. And then that first look I look back on, and I'm like, wow, I really couldn't do that. It was awful. It's like you watch them and you're like, oh, I could so do this. And then I go back and watch that Perfect World one, and I just cringe. But yeah, you learn over time. So stay tuned for MMO Bomb How To. That'll definitely help you if you're looking to get started producing content, that type of thing. Well, let's throw it around for the final word. Damina.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me back. Yay for playing Slender. And hey, sorry I said about why'd you marry that guy?
I guess somehow my heart will recover.
Oh, please. You know what? What's the best part about being married to you is how much we laugh with each
That's
other.
true.
So
That's
we
true.
do jab each other an awful lot. So before anyone takes that awfully seriously, this is just kind of how we roll.
She's totally being serious, and it hurt me deeply, guys.
You can sleep on the couch. Jess, it was fantastic to get to kind of meet you, and hopefully we'll get to do this again together. I had a really great time, so.
Hi.
Jess, final word. Where can these listeners find you and follow you and Twitters or wherever social networks you're out there?
Oh, sure. I'm on most social networks. I guess the easiest way would be go ahead and my Twitter is twitter.com/Jess Brohard. It's a rather funny last name. You probably you might have trouble spelling it, but it's just like it sounds, Brohard.
Yeah, a couple of viewers have had fun with that one on the free-to-play weekly.
Yep. Oh, and because I get this question a lot, yes, that is my real last name.
Fantastic. Well, hit her up on Twitter, give her a follow, and check out all of her projects. In addition to what she's working on at mmobomb.com, she's got a ton of other stuff going that you may be interested in, so check it out. For Damina and Jessica, I am magicman. You can hit me up on the Twitters at magicman1. That's MAGICKMANN1. You can hit me on the email at magicman@mmobomb.com. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe, put those details down below. Our question of the week this week, given the fact that Star Wars has kind of collapsed and World of Warcraft has lost 1.1 million subscribers, do you think the subscription model is now dead? Put your comments below. We'll read them on next week's show. Until then, guys, stay safe, and I'll see you on the servers.